Do you remember how a little over a month ago we talked about Nintendo outright suing two ROM sites, Love Retro and Love ROMs? And we kind of talked about that. It was for millions of dollars. It seemed like a crazy amount, but of course, it seemed like Nintendo was trying to essentially scare off ROM sites, and people said, okay, well, we'll see what happens here with other ROM sites, since a lot of them like to kind of pop up out of nowhere a lot of times and kind of fly-by-night ROM sites. And I feel like a lot of people thought that, okay, well, the bigger ones probably won't really respond to this. Well, it looks like probably the biggest ROM site, because when I talked about that video, people even talked about Emuparadise in the comments. They're like, oh, good, it wasn't Emuparadise. All right, good. Well, this time it kind of is. See, it looks like Emuparadise is kind of get out in front of this, because I have a feeling they know that they are like the next target. They are like the big guys in the sea for ROMs. You know, people know that website to go to download ROMs, and they kind of got out in front of this a while ago, as they did pull down pretty much all of their Nintendo-based ROMs. So Mario, of course, Metroid, Zelda, all of any ROM with those characters in it, they pulled down. You couldn't get them there anymore, and people were like, okay, we'll just have to go elsewhere. And that's kind of how it was. They kept all of their PS1, PS2, Dreamcast, Saturn. I mean, they had everything. ISOs, ROMs, the whole thing. GameCube games were there. Seriously, they had a massive archive of these games until now. Emuparadise has actually removed all of their download links. You can technically click on them, I think, still, but it takes you to a page explaining that just the legal implications that are kind of getting thrown around right now. Cease and desists are not really being sent out technically by Nintendo anymore. They're just suing. Like, there's none of this, like, no more Mr. Nice Guy, essentially, as you might put it. And Emuparadise saying, you know what, it's not worth getting sued for millions of dollars for just ROMs in general. They still had up Super Nintendo and Nintendo ROMs from third parties, but I have a feeling that Nintendo could technically still probably sue them for that. I have a feeling they could, because it still technically was on their systems, and they might still sell that game on like a classic system or something. You know, that's kind of where the gray line was, or the gray area, and they might have been worried about that. So they said, you know what? We're just gonna pull our ROMs down. You can no longer download them there. Now, it doesn't mean that they have deleted them completely off of their servers. I have a feeling they are completely keeping these. Okay, there's probably a big backup on like a massive couple of hard drives somewhere, and that's kind of where we are now. ROMs do technically serve a purpose. I know it is a massive legal gray area, right? Are ROMs illegal? Are they legal? And you can argue either way. I own the original game, I can download the ROM and have it as a backup, and that apparently is fine, whereas if you start just downloading every single game under the sun and you don't own any of them, that's kind of where it becomes a bit of an issue, according to, I guess, just the law, copyright law, infringement, all of that. But they at least served a purpose in archiving and kind of preserving games well beyond when the parent company no longer does. Whether it's Sega games from like the Master System, or Sega Saturn games, or even Nintendo's own games. Because remember, we talked about how about a year ago or so, Nintendo even, apparently it was found out, they actually even had to go out and download a ROM to then sell on their eShop. So Nintendo themselves are allegedly, according to Digital Foundry, Eurogamer, and everybody, apparently guilty of downloading it themselves as well. Now, they're allowed to do that. It's their game, right? That makes sense. They essentially own the game. But it does concern myself, and I'm sure several others, what happens if ROMs just disappeared from the internet? Nintendo went back into their archives and were like, all right, let's put this game on the eShop because it'll sell well, people want it. And they go, uh-oh, where's this game? All right, what do we do then? Do they recreate it? That's the concern right now. Now, there, of course, are torrent sites. You'll still have ROM sites popping up constantly. They'll be all over the place, but it makes you wonder if kind of the legal ramifications could scare the bigger guys away, because then you'll go to sites that have malware and viruses and those little things that tell you to click so you can get the code and then punch it in. It's really annoying. But you're probably going to be stuck with torrents and just sharing, I guess, amongst your friends. Maybe you have that one friend who put everything on this massive, terabyte hard drive, and they have all the Super Nintendo games. They're going to be your best friend, probably. pretty soon. But let me know what you guys think about this, because this seemed to be the worst case scenario in that comment section when I talked about the other ROM sites and the $1 million lawsuit where they were just getting sued for millions of dollars. Let me know what you think about this, because Emuparadise looks like the biggest thing they were useful for a lot of people, which were ROMs, they're no longer useful for. They of course still have the forums. They do of course provide emulators, which is still fairly important. Emulators, as long as they don't cross any of the lines of we're using that company's source code to make this, are still legal. You know, Nintendo is not going after those because they can't. So that's kind of where we are now. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it, guys. Dislike it if not. Let me know down in the comments about everything. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.